Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're taking a look at the AEROCOOL Integrator 700W 80 Plus bronze power supply. Should you buy one? Should you not? Let's find out. Okay, so in today's video we're taking a look at the AEROCOOL Integrator 700W 80 Plus bronze rated power supply. Now, clearly this isn't going to set the world on fire in terms of specifications, and hopefully in terms of specifications it won't set your PC on fire either, which obviously is a bad thing. Jokes aside, there are a lot of really cheap power supplies on the market. Now, just because something is cheap doesn't necessarily mean it's rubbish. Clearly, if you spend double or triple, then you are going to get a significantly better product. But as far as things go, and judging by some of the specs and reading through the actual certification from 80 Plus website, for Clear Plus on behalf of 80 Plus, this is actually not too bad at all. There are obviously, as you get with all things that are mass produced, you do get the occasional problem with them, which is part of things being mass produced at a certain price point. But certainly this does tick a lot of boxes. If you're looking for a budget power supply, you don't necessarily have a particularly high-end PC, then this is actually going to be okay. If you don't necessarily need 700 watts, there are other options available. I think it's a 400, 500, 600, and the 700, I think there's an 800 as well. I'll put some links in the video description so you can check out the various ones that are available. Comes with a 2-year warranty as well, which is actually, although yes, it's not outstanding, it's pretty decent. A lot of these power supplies in this kind of price point, you're looking at a 1-year warranty, kind of that is about it. 2 years is actually them saying, well, we've got a little bit of faith in our products. Again, you shouldn't be using this on a high-end system. Realistically, I would say, look at the total wattage of your PC, what it actually requires, then double it, and then this will fit in right. So if you've got a PC which needs around about 350 watts, get yourself the 700 watt. That way you're going to give yourself a bit of headroom, and ironically, 80 Plus power supplies, most of them are actually at their most efficient around about 50%. So being that if you're kind of loading it up with 350 watts, 700 watts, you're going to be in that kind of peak efficiency band pretty much most of the time, or at least when it's under a full load or an increased load. When you're not at a full load, when you're at kind of 100, 200 watts, it's still going to be within that pretty decent efficiency marker. Anyway, that's enough waffling. Let's take a look at this thing and see what it's all about. So yeah, AEROCOOL Integrator 700 watt power supply, 80 Plus bronze rated, almost a gold then, that would be a very interesting thing. $29.99 at the moment here in the UK as of the 24th of June 2022. So yeah, £30. I don't think there's a great deal much better. AEROCOOL also do their Cylon range as well, which are kind of very similar, to be honest with you. Depending what region you're in, you may find that you've got the Cylon as an option rather than the Integrator. Luckily for us at the moment in the UK, we have both options available. I've had the Cylons before. You can check out reviews of those. We'll link those in the video description, and also possibly one of these pop-up cards. Apparently, I've actually had one of these before. When I bought it today on Amazon, which actually I did buy it today and it was delivered same day, which is absolutely awesome. Yeah, apparently I've bought one of these before. Now that actually serves as a good thing because I don't remember it. And the fact that I don't remember it is probably a good thing. That means that it's gone into a PC and it's had a nice long life. I couldn't tell you exactly when I bought it because it didn't quite go back that far, but apparently I have bought one of these previously. These have been on the market for years. They've gone through a few revisions, they've changed cables, etc. So they started off the Integrator range where they just had the kind of ketchup and mustard, and then they went to ketchup and mustard with kind of like a meshing on them as well, which we've all seen before. I personally don't like those. Whereas now they've gone to the kind of flat black licorice style cables, which is absolutely awesome. I was kind of worried because I honestly couldn't remember having one of these before. So when I ordered it, first thing I did, open up the box, what are the cables like? That was the most important thing to me, to see what the visuals were like. But yeah, excellent. Flat black cables, perfect. Exactly what we wanted. So let's take a tour of the box. So Integrator 700 watt 80 Plus bronze. 2-year warranty, like I said before. You've got the multilingual kind of blurb on the sides, both of those. On the back it goes into a little bit more detail about the individual features. So we've got a elegant black PSU casing. Elegant is probably one of the words I would have not used to describe a power supply. They are, yes, I wouldn't say elegant. I'm actually lost for a word of what I would describe a power supply case as being. Bland in black is probably where I would go with it, far from elegant. Anyway, compliant with ATX 12 volt version 2.4, which is actually the latest standard. We're about to move over, I think, to ATX 3.0. And then ATX3 I think is going to be the next one. So yeah, that's pretty good. Some modern specs. High efficiency PSU up to 85% in efficiency, so that ticks nicely. That 80 plus bronze box. Now, depending which country you're buying this in, when they actually did the ratings, which I've printed out here and you'll probably be seeing that on the screen right now, this was actually done using the American 110 voltage. So if you're using it in a country other than the United States, where you've got maybe 220, 230 or 240 volts, your energy efficiency is going to be better. Only a little bit, but it is going to be better because the more voltage, the better efficiency. So there's a very strong chance that when this actually gets ratified in the UK or in the EU, there's a very strong chance this will actually end up as being a silver label rather than a bronze label. But yeah, there's lots of factors which go into that, into testing, so I wouldn't say it's a guarantee, but it does look like it's going to be nudging its way into the silver position. So we've got a powerful 12 volt rail. It is a single 12 volt rail. They have actually over-egged it a little bit. We'll take a look at the section down here. So this tells you the actual output voltages. So we're looking at 56 amps on the 12 volt rail. So that gives you a total then of 672 watts, just a little bit shy of the 700 watt marker, although they have included the kind of 150 watts, which is made up from the combined 3.3 and 5 volt rails. So you add all that together and some magic happens and they put a 700 watt power supply label on it, where I guess really it should be a 650, but that's not quite as easy to sell, I would assume. Anyway, moving on from that, so actually over power protection, we've got all that sort of thing, and over voltage, all the usual stuff. We've got active power factor correction as well, all that's built in, as you'd expect on an 80 plus bronze. You've got some really nice cables, blacked out like I said. You've got 7 SATA connections, loads of connectivity. It does show you on the box all the cables there. We'll go through the cables and I'll tell you the exact lengths of them as well. I know there's going to be some of you out there which are maybe building in a specific case or tower and you're not too sure how long the EPS connector is going to be, so we will go through that. There's chapters in the video, so if you're not too sure which part of the video is relevant to you, just look at the chapters underneath and you can skip to the relevant part, or obviously for view time it's best if you watch the whole thing. Moving on, so yeah, 24 pin, we've got that. There is a 4+8 12 volt for your EPS connection. You've got 2 PCI Express connectors, so that's a 6+2 making up 8, and there's 2 of those included. There's also 4 PATA connections, or Molex connections, I think most people refer to those. That's the kind of the old-fashioned 4-pin, and also there's 7 SATA connections. So I think that's pretty much it for going through the box. Let's get this thing open and have a look. Now, don't get this confused with another model which is on the market, which is very similar, which is the Integrator. I think it's called the MX or the XT. Very, very similar in terms of design, but that is the modular version. So do be aware that this is not a modular power supply. All the cables are fixed. So in the box there is a power plug which will be suitable for your particular region. We're in the UK, so 13 amp plug and with the IEC or kettle lead style connection on there. Also there is the instruction guide, so if you've never installed a power supply before and you're not entirely sure what you're doing, we've actually done a really good job of it here, so it's all explained what plugs into what the pins do, etc, etc. So yeah, for novices or system integrators, hence the name, then yeah, no problems at all there. There is actually in here as well somewhere a bag of 4 screws, there we go. So you even get some screws to install it into your case, which not always necessary, but it's one of those things nice to have. And that takes us along to the power supply itself and the absolutely ridiculously long cables. Now they did make a bit of a thing about this, seeing the Cylon range, which is AEROCOOL's kind of other, I don't want to say twin, but it's kind of like a sister or brother range, so it's kind of very similar in terms of what the actual specs are. A lot of people's problems with the Cylon range is that the EPS and the 24-pin power connectors sometimes are a little bit on the short side. Now they have addressed this, so we've got some extra long cables on here, and we'll go through the cables now, so I'll show you what you get. So the first one is going to be our 24-pin, so that's a 20/24, and you can just slide that off the end if you've only got a 20-pin. I like the fact that the cables, they've actually grouped together and bunched them up very, very small, so depending where you're going to route them through in your case, then that's all taken care of, and yeah, really nice and easy to cable manage, like that a lot. The next one is going to be our EPS connector. Actually, I should have said the length of the 24-pin, so the 24-pin connector is 550 millimeters. I'll put that on the screen below as well so you can see that. So the EPS and the 4-pin stroke 8-pin, usual kind of deal where it clips together, so yeah, no surprises there. Sadly there is only one, no additional ones, which kind of would have been nice, but I think for most systems it's going to be absolutely fine. And also, like I said earlier, if you're using this on a system which is over kind of half of what this is, then you're probably looking at the wrong power supply, to be completely honest with you. But anyway, so we've got this. This I actually measured earlier. They say it's supposed to be 550mm for the EPS connector, but I actually measured it, it's 560. So clearly you will get some kind of deviations from the actual listings. So yeah, that was 10mm longer, which isn't a great deal, but yeah, 550 is what you should say it is really. Next one up, we'll look at our PCI Express. So the PCI Express one, again, same sort of deal. So on this one, to the first part of the cable, 530mm. So again, nice and long. And then, as with pretty much all these connections, we'll find as we go through later, the distance between the first connection and a secondary connection or an additional connection is always going to be the same, 150mm. So yeah, got actually nice bit of range there if you're using SLI. Clearly, don't use this power supply for SLI. It's just don't do it. But for older graphics cards, things that require a little bit more juice, older Radeons, maybe the R9 290, that sort of thing, where they do suck back a little bit of juice, going to be absolutely fine with that, no problems at all. Ideally, this kind of power supply for modern systems, I would be looking somewhere kind of Ryzen 5 5600 with maybe a, I don't know, a 3060 is probably pushing things a little bit, but you kind of get the general idea. So lower end parts, 3050, yeah, no problem at all. Anything with a single 8-pin is going to be absolutely fine. So that takes over to the last 3 cables. So 2 of which are SATA cables specifically. So one of them has got 4 SATA plugs on there. So again, same sort of deal. This one actually in total length is 900mm. So you're looking at 450 from the power supply to the first cable. Then you've got another 150mm, 150mm, then another 150mm. So that gives you a total of 900mm. Then you've got the same deal again. So this is a 3-plug version. So again, 450 to first plug, 150, 150. So that's going to give you, what, 750. Then we've got our last one, which is our Molex, the 4-pin Molex connectors. These do still get used every now and then for things like water pumps, some SATA controllers, USB hubs, that kind of stuff. RGB lighting tends to be the kind of the main one. A lot of older cases, or especially some of the kind of the more kind of cheaper cases, if they're going to be using some kind of built-in addressable RGB, quite often they will have these sort of Molex plugs. So yeah, we don't have to use them, just tuck them away. Again, same deal. So 450 out to the first plug, then another 150, another 150, another 150. So again, that one takes up to around about 900mm in total. So plenty of length there, which yeah, it's probably going to be a good thing if you need that extra little bit of length. If not, you can tuck them away quite easily because they are those nice flat cables. You don't have that kind of extra braiding on them, which bulks them out a bit. So yeah, all well and good. Overall, I've got to say, I quite like the power supply. You've got the badge on the side, tells you exactly what's going on. You've got a grill on there, 120mm fan, which is a quiet fan, thermally controlled as well. On the other side, nothing at all. On the back, nice grill, power on off switch, as you'd expect, all that kind of good stuff. Probably you're wondering, what does the actual fan sound like? Is it horrendous? Considering it's a cheap fan, it doesn't sound too bad at all. Here's a recording I made a little bit earlier on today. This is just with my camera as it is set up now, without the mic, just literally straight into the camera, and literally the lens is probably about 6 to 7 inches away from the actual unit itself, and you'll hear me turn it on, and then you'll hear the fan noise, and then you'll hear me turn it off, and then the fan stopping shortly after. So let's take a listen to that now. So there you go. It's actually pretty quiet. I did actually have it on the desk on top of some bubble wrap just to kind of isolate it a little bit. So in complete transparency, it wasn't directly on the desk, which you probably wouldn't have anyway because you'd have it in a PC with foam feet, etc, etc. But yeah, certainly very quiet. I would argue that it's slightly quieter than some of the Cylons that I've had previously, and certainly some of the other brands that I've had in the past have been a little bit on the noisy side. I'm yet to find out what it's like under 100% load, or we'll be doing some follow-up testing on this in our low budget Intel gaming PC. So we'll see how it goes in there. That is essentially where this is going to end up, I think. But we'll try and update the video, or at least let you know. If I find anything like weird issues with it, then I will let you know. I'll pin it into the video comments, as I will the affiliate links if you want to pick one of these up for yourself. So I think this is going to wrap this one up. Again, I'm not going to say go out and buy one, and I'm not going to say don't buy one, because that is kind of beyond my methodology of testing. Clearly, I've bought one before. I've not heard anything back. So yeah, that's good. That is 100%. This is my second one, so we'll hopefully see if we can maintain that 100% mark. And this might actually be the ones I go for in future. They do seem a little bit quieter than Cylons, and also having that slightly longer EPS connector is going to be handy, because I do find that a little bit of a pain sometimes, trying to get that extra EPS connector from the power supply up to the top there, and it does always be a little bit of a stretch. So it'd be nice to have a little bit of extra cable in there to deal with that, especially on some of the larger ATX cases. Anyway, let me know what you think about this one in the comment section below. I think the comment section below is going to be a little bit of a hot spot. People are going to be turned off by this. Ultimately, this is a tier D power supply. If you go and follow Linus Tech Tips power supply tier list, it's actually in tier D, which is kind of like for low-end systems, or for systems with iGPU, which is kind of where it deserves to be. It's in actually good company. If you look through the tier D listings, there's a lot of power supplies which are on the market which people quite happily recommend. Some of the Cooler Master power supplies, got other brands in there, EVGA, yeah, big names. So they're all in that tier together, 80 plus models, etc, etc. So don't write it off thinking it's AEROCOOL, it's cheap and nasty, because it's kind of in the same tier as some of those other bronze rated ones that we've all seen and heard and YouTubers quite often recommend. So all I say is don't be too judgmental about the AEROCOOL brand. They're not paying me to say this. Literally, I've just bought this. Again, this is the second one I've bought for a specific purpose. So yeah, I haven't really got a dog in the fight, so to speak. But anyway, I've rattled on for way too long. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.